Kumaresan, welcome. Welcome to 1 Million Minds. I'm so glad you're here. Um,
I'm
today,
glad to
we
be
want to
here.
talk, today we want to talk about your background and how you became an entrepreneur. And I've known Kumaresan for a long time. I was just thinking about how long it's been. At least feels like 30 years. I don't know. 30 years is good. So maybe 25 years. I've known him for a long time. We went to
27 years from 93.
Wow. Okay, a long time. So
Yes.
we went to undergrad together, did a chemical engineering together, moved here to do a master's together, and then he's in the DC right now. I'm in Austin, so we went our own ways, but we've stayed in touch. Kumaresan is a very successful entrepreneur. So what I want to talk through with him is let's find out more about what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. Where did he start? And give us talk to him about a little bit about his journey. The Every entrepreneur journey has ups and downs. So at the end of the day, I want you guys to learn more about not everybody's journey is the same. So I want you to give a taste for how Kumaresan's journey unfold, and then give some get some advice from Kumaresan what worked for him or what did. So that's what I
Sure.
want to start. But Kumaresan, I know a lot about you, but I want you to tell us, our audience, a little bit more about your background, maybe starting with education and where you are right now, just in a very high level summary, because we'll go into details about some of these things.
Will do. So me and Rajni, we go a long way back, as you said. We did our undergraduates together. We both came here to do our masters. After masters, I don't know if anyone knows, we both did our undergraduate in chemical engineering. We both don't do anything related to chemical engineering these days. But after our masters, we both were working in different fields. Part of my masters was on operations research, so I went into working for PricewaterhouseCoopers and as part of their management consulting. And that's where I realized, what I really wanted to do was solve problems, right? Solve issues, solve problems, process optimization, automation, stuff like that. That's what was very interesting to me. So that's actually where I started, getting the entrepreneurial bug, and I wanted to branch out on my own. And it kind of worked out for me. The timing was right in the sense, PricewaterhouseCoopers consulting division got bought over by IBM, and I didn't want to be a product salesman for IBM. So it worked out where I decided to take the risk and be an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur has been great, right? I've been able to really do what I am passionate about, what I really like, and what I do. So I initially started out as a solo entrepreneur, right? Just by me, myself, doing some stuff, and then I slowly realized that build a team, so get a team of like-minded folks. And that's how I created my company, iWorks, and it's a team of like-minded folks who are actually all following the same passion, who all have the same passion to do what we are doing, and that's how we have been successful on doing things, etc.
Perfect. Yes, there's a lot to unpack there, because a lot of us really end up starting a solopreneur as either a consultant, like you said, or an idea, and just you doing everything. But
Yep.
that's at the end of the day, it's almost like trading time for money. Is more or less a more glorified job at that point. So to
Yeah.
your point, until we get the right team and systems and automations in place, you really can scale. You really are just doing instead of working for one boss, now you have whoever your client is your boss, right? So
Yeah, I mean, so more than think of your back office stuff, right? All those automations and those things, you can easily figure them out.
mhm.
But having the right set of people to work with, to help grow your business, that's the toughest part. If you don't have the same like-minded partners, or I wouldn't say whether it is partners or employees or people who believe in you, it is really tough for you to be able to make that journey to taking the next step from being just a solo entrepreneur to being to be successfully building a firm, or building anything that you want, right? So that's the that I would say is the biggest challenges are, just like everyone that we meet in life, you try things, you work with people that you think have the same mindset, but it doesn't work out always, right? So the biggest thing is having being able to clearly establish what you as you work with other people, what is that that you want out of those people, what are your expectations, being able to clearly communicate. And when things don't work, it may not work for different reasons, right? It may not be the right thing for them. A lot of people jump into leaving their job, trying to be an entrepreneur, thinking that it's easy. Oh, I see other people do it, let me do it. Oh, I see Kumar is doing it, let me do it, etc. And then 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road, they're like, or maybe a year down the road, they're like, this is not what I wanted it to be. This is not as
Not as
glamorous as
easy
I
as I
thought it
thought.
would be. So people, so but when trying to end those relationships the right way, being professional, being courteous, and saying okay, those things also matter a lot, in how you build your things, right? So that's the kind of mindset I went into. I was pretty clear about what I wanted, and and I was able to clearly communicate. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm doing. This is where I want it to be. The kind of work my company does, we are more in what is called system integration business, right? We integrate multiple components for whether it is for a nonprofit here in the DC metro area, for government clients in the DC metro area, or whether it is for commercial clients. We have some commercial clients in Wisconsin, in North Carolina. Whether it is for any of them, we always go and trying to do what is best for the clients. And one thing that we are very clear about is that we don't want to be a body shop, right? So some of the partners that I've brought into the firm, to expand, to grow, etc., they've always looked at it and said, why not we go do the other model of business, because you can actually expand really big with that, and it'll give us more revenue, we'll achieve more goals, etc. But that's not the core of what I wanted to do. So it was always about this is the core of what you are, this is what we want to do, so that actually is something that everyone should look at, on what you want to do. You want to keep true to yourself.
Agree. And I agree. So that's one of the things you realize as you, because starting out, right? So this, I want to have this dialogue between us, like we are talking to our 20-year-old self. Like a lot of our audience are very young. They're finishing up college or right out of college, and they need the clarity. Right now, they feel like entrepreneurship is the right thing to do. They see a lot of successful entrepreneurs. There's also a myth floating around that, oh, you don't need college to be a successful entrepreneur. Dropouts have made it. So actually, I'm doing some research about it, because I hear it over and over again, especially in the marketing and the sales world. I agree with them. You don't need a college degree to be successful, but it is not a prerequisite.
I wouldn't say Jerry, this is where I would go. I wouldn't say college degree is a must, but education is very important.
Yes.
Whether because people learn differently, right? Some people learn with a structured college degree. Some people learn with on their own. Education is important. You without you have, or I'll be clear, if you don't learn upfront, you're going to learn on the job, or you're going to learn by failure. That's
Mistakes.
how you're
Yes. You're going to pay for it one way or the other.
Yes. So as I said, you don't have to go to a college, have the structured education. But if you're a self-learner, and you are able to figure things out, and learn. For me and you, we went did our engineering together, right? We did engineering. We didn't learn anything about business management or accounting or anything.
Absolutely.
But those things, I learned on my own, because as I wanted to do things, I wanted to figure out what does each mean, if somebody is going to ask you what do you think your projected EBITDA is going to be, you need to be able to conveniently answer them, or convincingly say this is how I think things are going to work, so learning that is very important.
I completely agree with you. I think that's the disconnect, right? A lot of people just assume, okay, I don't need a college degree, I can just hustle my way to success. It's possible, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who've done it, but if you look at statistics, you look at the percentages, I was looking at Forbes 400, looking at the top 1% of revenue earners. The number of college dropouts who actually make it is like 10% or lesser. It's lesser if you could cut a different way. 80% of the people have some kind of college degree. So again, I am not saying college degree is important, but I absolutely agree with you, Kumar, that education is important. So
Yeah.
what I mean is you might know a skill, right? You might know be very good at Facebook ads. You might be a developer. You might be a coder, but that does not make you a business person. That you know a skill. For the skill to be a business, there's a lot of strategy that goes around it. You need to understand the finance, and then eventually you need to be able to develop systems like sale lead generation systems, CRM.
Yep.
How do you manage your customers? How do you fulfill them? Back office
Yeah.
support.
Yeah. Those
All this
things are
is
very
not
important.
taught anywhere, right? In college, even in college. So
Yeah.
finding the
Some
right
of it,
team.
some of it you don't learn, whether you, even if you go to college, you're not going to learn some of these skills, right? Like, these are life lessons that you're going to learn, like, as you work through. And some of the tools and technologies that you use, you're not going to learn them in college. Like, you are going to learn them as you start using them. But if you, unless you don't have that basic understanding, you need to have that basic education and basic knowledge for you to be able to quickly grasp things. And
Absolutely.
one of the biggest things about, like, being an entrepreneur, to be successful, you got to be a quick learner and never assume that you know everything, right? Like, the minute, like, you say, you think that, like, I know it all, like, you are going to actually fail. So always, like, be a quick learner and be willing to listen to what, like, you can learn out of, like, any opportunity that is there. Like, that actually would be something that helps you, anyone, like, can, like, grow up.
And I think that's the biggest advice I will give my 20-year-old, right? As a 20-year-old, you knew everything. Nobody could tell you that you didn't know anything. I don't think we had the humility, maybe you did, but I didn't, to know that you don't have to always be the smartest person in the room.
Grow.
You
Yep.
don't have to, you can absolutely grow. As every day we are growing, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I think now we realize that you're always learning, you're always growing, you're learning from your kids, your coworkers, your
Yep.
clients, newer technologies coming out. So you're always learning. You have to be humble enough to know that you don't know everything. And that's when you realize these are my strengths. So I'm going to focus on this. These are things I don't like to do. These are things I don't know how to do. And that's why you
Yep.
so start getting partners and employees to support that. Because if you try to one man all of this, you're going to do a bad job across the board. These are things that you come with. Like what Kumar says, certain things you have to learn by yourself. But there are
Yeah.
things that you watch other entrepreneurs successful or entrepreneurs who fail and learn from them, right? So that can shortcut some of your journey. Like what we're sharing with you, if you really paid attention to it, that could shortcut your journey by months or years if we actually implement some of what we're talking through in this channel, right? So
That's true. Like, there are a lot of things that, like, that I learned, right? Like, over if I want to go back to my 20-year-old and something, the first thing that I would tell them is, like, be persistent. Number one, right? Like, don't jump, like, from, like, there are always shiny objects everywhere. Like, don't jump from one to another, right? Like, and the other biggest thing that I would tell, like, my 20-year-old is, like, yes, like, you are invincible, but, like, you are still, like, going to fail on a lot of things. Like, so you better be ready to take your legs, like, because when I was 20, I'm like, I wasn't 20, I was 25, 26 when I was taking out on this journey. I thought I could do it all. Like, I don't need, like, anyone. I don't need anything. Like, I can do it all. Like, that's not the case. Like, that is never the case, right? And, like, the other biggest thing that I would tell is, like, be focused, have a focus, be persistent, and have a focus on, like, what you really want, like, things to be. I learned it over a period of time, like, that I can't try to, like, spread my, like, or, like, try to grow in multi dimensions at the same time. That's not going to happen. Focus on, like, one, like, try to make sure, like, you achieve a level of success there before you, like, start branching out into other areas. And to branch out, you need other people. Like, two things that, like, you can't do. There's only 24 hours in a day, and there's only one you, right? Like, you can't actually, like, do anything about it. So.
no, I'm going to summarize some of the things you said, right? It's very important. I don't want people to miss it. A couple of most important things you said is being able to, like, as an entrepreneur, right? That's what an entrepreneur is. You're seeing opportunity everywhere, and you always see another shiny object, and you're like, oh, maybe if I do this, then it'll get me there. So what
Yep.
happens is you jump from things to things, and you eventually end up not doing anything right, correct? So persistence, but also having the focus and staying on one thing and going through with it. And you might fail, but what it'll do is that you'll learn to fail fast. I'm just summarizing what he said. Learn
Yeah.
first,
That's
stay
correct. Yes.
focused. You will fail. If you fail, learn to fail fast and learn from that and move forward.
Move on. Yep.
And if you keep that going and being persistent, these are, I would say, regardless what kind of entrepreneur you are, you need these qualities to be successful.
To be successful. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Like, I'm like, you hit it right on the summary, like, there. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about, okay, those are some success. So let's talk through your journey a little bit more. And I want to talk through, when did you know because we all, like, as engineers, we like solving problems, right? We're all, so that is a great thing to have. But when did you know, I want to be an entrepreneur? And also give me one more thing. Entrepreneurs never like, oh yeah, it's all going up. It's always up and down. There were situations in my career where I said, okay, this entrepreneurship is for birds. I'm just gonna go get a job, and just every 2 weeks I'm gonna get a paycheck. What the hell am I doing, right? So
yeah, I mean, like, so the ups and downs are always there. Like, for me, I knew that, like, I wanted to do it on my own was when I was not able to get through to two of my, like, I would say, like, reporters. Like, I was reporting to two managers at the time. I couldn't get through to them to, like, do the right thing for the client. Like, we were solving a problem for one of our IBM's clients, and, like, and I was trying to explain to them, like, what the right thing was, and I couldn't get through to them to saying that, like, hey, like, this is what, like, is really needed for them. They wanted to actually, like, make sure, like, they are selling their product, not about, like, the actual solution, which was, it was more their decisions were more subjective than objective, right? Like, so
it wasn't maybe the client in mind mostly, right? Like, what is the best thing
yeah,
for the client?
yeah. So when I, like, that's when I realized, like, and I realized that, like, for me, I always say, like, I put my customer, what is best for my customer upfront, right? Even though the customer might not know what he wants, I actually, like, feel like, okay, I can educate him on, like, this is what you want, like, this is what you need, and this is the solution that you need. So when I realized that, like, that's when I decided, like, I'm going to take, like, off on my own, like, and, like, do things, right? And absolutely, like, the first 6 months, it was more than a cluster, right? Like, so started off, like, with, like, all bumps in the road, like, there, like, oh, I need, like, I need unemployment insurance. So doing all of that, like, was, like, was like, a big learning curve. Like, so once I figured that out, it was, like, good. But even then, like, I started this in 2005. Like, we had, like, a good times, and then we had some lean times. Like, so as a company, like, we grew, like, to be about, like, 30 people, like, by 2008, 2009. And then we went back to 5 people, like, so we actually, like, went down, like, but I kept on with it. Like, we kept on with, like, we knew what we wanted to do. We knew what our goals were. Like, we knew what, like, what made us work, right? Like, and our company, iWorks, like, we talk about business and technology integration. So we knew exactly where we wanted to be, right? Like, and if you saw our logo has, like, as if we are fitting a puzzle together. That's what our logo looks like. And that's what I really wanted to, like, convey, right? Like, but we kept on with it. So we had our ups and downs, like, and same thing when we, like, grew. We figured out, like, all the different HR issues that, like, you need to deal with, like, and then, like, when we shrunk back, like, at one point I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm working 20 hours a week, 20 hours a day, like, 7 days a week, and am I like being happy, especially when you have family, kids, and everything else, and all the other things that you feel like you are missing out. So there are always times that you have to have a check back. Good part about it is if you have a good support system with your family, friends, and everything else, that helps a lot. That helped me a lot. In being persistent in what I wanted to do and keeping up with it.
I mean, I'm just going to summarize, right? At the end of the day, a lot of good points made, but a lot of entrepreneurs fail because when things get tougher, right? That's when you really need a support system. Like your wife, yeah, I think in your case, I think your wife is in your business, but not a lot of people work with their spouse. It's good thing on that.
No, actually, I didn't. My wife was not in my business, so she is
perfect. No, it's a good thing, right? Because not all your spouse, it could be your husband, by you, not you, but just talking to the audience, but your husband might not understand what entrepreneurship, because I tried to get my wife to be an entrepreneur. I realized she didn't want it to be, right?
yeah.
So we think very differently than our spouses sometimes. But they don't, but the thing is, they don't have to understand you. They just have to support you. So just make sure that's clear. Is if you try to, that's one of the things, just as a lesson learned, if you try to convert them and try to help them understand what it is to be an entrepreneur, entrepreneurs are a different breed altogether. And that's one of the reasons I wanted a community and on this information, because it is lonely sometimes, because not a lot of people think the way we do, and not having a support system, whether it's a community or friends or a mentor to bounce these things off, gets hard. So that's one side, but also
So one thing that I'll tell you about, as a basic quality of an entrepreneur, you have to you have to realize that people are who they are. You shouldn't try to change them, right? Whether it is your spouses, family members, if they're not interested, they're not interested. But at the same time, you should be able to communicate and tell them how they can support you and why you need their support. Because a lot of people don't understand okay, you're taking all these risks, why is it important? You could make as much money just working somewhere. Why is it important for you? So you communicating that properly to them helps them understand what your passion is and how they can support you. So
absolutely. I completely agree. So having a support system is good. You have a support system to celebrate with, you make it, but it's really very important when things are not going well, or you hit a wall. It's good to have a family and a mentor or a business partner to be able to bounce some ideas off, because if you try to do too much on your own, you're going to burn out, or you might not make the right decision, especially when you're like stressed and have working 20-hour days. So
yeah.
I want to stress on the fact that how important it is to be successful. So Kumar, I'm going to ask you a question. You can answer it the way what I want the audience to know is you grew it from zero to, I think, a 7-figure business. I know you can't share all of the numbers, but I want to give you the audience an idea about what helped you with the scale, right? But you as a single person, you couldn't scale that much, but give us in within the ballpark, or just whatever you can share on, because I want to make sure the audience knew from you started about 2005, it's 15 years later, how has the business grown? Just some information you can share with us.
So started as I said, we started in 2005. We were at one point, we were a 7-figure business. We came down, to being a 6-figure business, at some point. But then, the biggest challenge was, getting the right set of, like-minded, team, right? To work together. Once we got that rolling, from, I would say from 2010, we had been on an upward curve. So we actually have about 85 employees now, and run somewhere around close to 20 to 22 million dollars in gross income. So we run that successfully, but at the same time the whole, it would not have happened if you didn't get that team together, right? The team grew organically. You didn't actually grow from one person to and 100% 85% group in a day. It grew organically. there were some people who came in, left because they didn't fit in with our culture, fit in within our mindset, etc. But the people who actually were able to understand. One of the biggest challenges that we had was in certain cases we actually had a good team working together, but at every single stage you had a plateau, for you to go to the next stage, right? Before you go to the next stage, etc. So in those cases, some people scaled up, because they understood, how they needed to reinvent themselves, how they needed to, re-identify themselves so they can actually, hit that, next growth curve. But some people didn't, and so we had to move on, from people who couldn't actually reinvent themselves, who couldn't, understand the vision, etc. But that's how, we're able to grow, so. Right now, as I said, we are somewhere around 20 to 22 million dollars. That's our company size, with about 85 employees.
That's amazing. So I think I'm going to recap it. So as what you said was very important, I want to make sure they don't miss it, is you grew fast to a certain figure, but then you took a breather, whether it was environmental conditions or however the market was, you had to kind of scale back a little bit. But then what you did was, it's important, right? You could scale back and said, this is not working. Let me call it a day. But what is, you retooled yourself with the right team members, with the right strategy. And then from that point on, it's been an upward growth. And I think it happens in every business. At least yours just happened once, right? There are other businesses go through the cycles anyway. And if you, and even economical cycles, when they slow down, some business actually look at this as an opportunity. Some business, oh my God, just complain about it. What you did was the right thing to do, is you looked at where this business needs to go. Do we have the right team? Do you have the right strategy? And then you're able to grow. And I think that's something that people can take from you. Don't, if you can make that decision and make those decisions early on, better. But again, you really won't know until the company starts running. What is the culture that you develop? You might have a vision, but the team members you bring them on will add a little bit of flavor to it too. So, but as overall, the company strategy will be successful if your culture is nurturing and helps you move forward. So that's important, that people need to understand that.
Yeah, I'm that is something that I would actually tell any young entrepreneur that who wants to come in, right? Learning never stops, and trying to retool yourself never stops. We are in technology services business, right? Our line of business is in technology services. Technology changes every day, and it changes at the pace of life. So you have to be ready to retool yourself. You have to be ready to understand how you can align yourself to things that are in the changing world, etc. So that's very important. You can't actually let yourself get stale.
Absolutely. Again, we could talk for days, so I'm going to try to make sure we address everything. So if you had to say, what is your number one reason for success, what would that be?
I would say we had a clear vision and focus on what I wanted to do, and that actually would be my number one reason for success, right? And people always say customer is right. I don't actually say that customer is right. I try to say we can educate the customer on what exactly do they need, because a lot of times customers comes in most of your customers, clients, whoever it is, they actually might have some idea about what they want to do, but they really do not know, and they haven't actually thought through every single angle. That's where you are there for, you need to be able to figure out okay, I need to be able to look in multi different directions for them, etc.
Agree.
So understanding that that actually is is another thing that I've always maintained throughout so.
Perfect, that's good. Number one reason for success for Kumar was a clear vision, having clarity on where he's going to take the company or the customer, how to solve the customer problems. Because it's very fair what you said is, if the customer mostly knew what they want to do, they could have done it. So when you're working on a role heads down, you can't see the entire vision. As somebody coming in with the expertise on the outside, which is what Kumar does, he's able to look at all the opportunities and also look at things that work in other companies or industries and bring that here to have creative solutions to the problems that they have. All right. So with that, what would be your number one advice for a young entrepreneur? Like when I mean young, not just an age, they're starting out, because people don't have to just start at 20. I started out in my 30s, but people might start in their 40s. I call them all early entrepreneurs. What would be your number one advice for entrepreneurs?
My biggest advice is like, make sure you're having fun. If you're not having fun, you will it is easy to quit when you're not having fun, and it is very hard to let it go if you're really having fun with what you're doing, right? So whatever you're doing, make sure you actually are having fun with what you're doing. That's very important. That would be my biggest advice to anyone. So.
I mean, it's absolutely essential, because for the highs and the lows, if you have a right team and you guys are having fun, it'll move forward. And I think that's something I'm trying to incorporate into mine too, because knowledge sharing is serious business, right?
Yeah.
It's also fun. We have to have fun doing this, because otherwise, what's the point, right? Like,
yeah.
I think one of the key criteria I'm looking at is, right, once you get into your 40s, you realize there's a lot of ways to make money. But what are you going to leave behind, right? We don't take anything when we leave. We know we want to raise good kids, but we're thinking about what we want to give back to the community, and that's one of the reasons we're doing this.
I'll tell you, as we all hit our 40s, and as we got there, the biggest thing that I was if I'm not having fun, why am I doing this, right? So if you have fun, you will never regret any moment of you doing this, so.
Absolutely, that's great advice. So are there any tools or apps that you use on a regular basis, podcasts you listen to? Just give us an idea about where do you get your information? What is one tool you can't live without on your phone?
I actually don't have an app or anything that I would say I can't live without. But something that I listen to a whole lot is Harvard Business Review. So I actually read it's free, it's online. You can go and anyone can go into Harvard Business Reviews and read them. It's the information there is very good, in the sense it actually opens up a lot of things for you, and people think of that oh, it is pure business management, etc. I've actually learned things about how to handle difficult employees in some of the. So those things are very good, so that's something that I would always I always have that with me, anywhere I go, I try to read more and more of that, etc. So.
And I think that's exactly, we all, as an entrepreneur, you have to be a lifelong learner. You have to keep your if you want to maintain your edge in the world, right? And also just be able to, there's always something new that comes up, not only a business problem for your clients within your own business. How do you, now that you moved up from, you were the only person, now you have a middle level managers, they have some things they want to do with their life. How do you keep this team growing and expanding? So now you have to become an HR manager. You might have a team, but you have to know that there's a need for something like that, right?
And also trying to figure out as you bring in people who are assimilate with you, you need to give them a path for them to be able to learn. One thing that I realized was everyone is interested in learning, but they don't know either they don't have the time or they don't know what they want to learn, and so giving them those things the right tools really helps to so. And it not only helps them grow, but it then helps in turn helps you grow, because now they are more productive, they are more efficient, they are more.
Where can people follow you if they want to say, okay, I've learned a lot from Kumar, he seems like a cool guy. How do I keep up with him and learn more from him? Where would they go?
See, one thing that I am is I'm more old school. I have a Facebook account but I don't use it. I have a LinkedIn account and I generally use it very sparingly. All my social media accounts are used very sparingly. But I do I am pretty open and giving out my emails and talking to people and being able to I respond to emails more often than I respond to social media posts, etc. So JB, I think your mic, you just turned it off.
I really did. All right, because my daughter just came by to say good night. So the company website would be a great place to get a hold of you.
Yeah, the company website would be a great place. It's www.iworkscorp.com. So you can find me there. You can send an email from there, or people can connect to me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty open about connecting with a lot of people on LinkedIn. People can connect to me on LinkedIn. I generally see LinkedIn messages, I would respond to messages. I don't generally go on and post a whole lot, but I would I do respond to LinkedIn messages with people, etc.
I'll put your LinkedIn profile in the video or in the comments below so people can get a hold of you. So again, Kumresan, I thank you for your time. I think there was a great journey going from zero to 20 plus $1 million and 85 employees is no easy feat. And you've done a great job. And I'm glad you were able to sit down with us and share your journey and your ups and downs. And
Thanks.
again, the people who are coming up, or their 20s, 30s, 40s, doesn't matter. There's a lot to learn from this and others we're going to be talking to. So keep it, I'm just going to summarize. Have a clear mission. That's what's going to help Kumresan succeed. And have fun and be a lifelong learner. Those will be my top 3 takeaways from this conversation. Thank you again, Kumresan.
Thanks, JB.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay.